name is Vila Bacon, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. This is going to be a review of Dracula Episode 2, Blood Vessel. But before we get to that, I'm doing a giveaway all this month, and next month as well, of Doctor Who DVDs. I don't think anybody's actually tried to win this one yet. This is a great one. Where is it? Over here. Dalek War. If you like Doctor Who, from 1973, Dalek War, Planet of the Daleks, Frontier in Space. Two great stories. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel, like, share with the comment, the hashtag Dalek War. Dalek War, the stories in there are Planet of the Daleks and Frontier in Space. And again, I don't think anybody's done it yet. So yeah, I just want to give this stuff away. And I've got a lot more to give away as well. I've got the East Space trilogy. I'm going to be giving away some David Tennant Blu-rays. Basically, everything I've upgraded from, I need to get rid of. I would normally just put them in a closet in the back somewhere. But I figured, might as well give it to you guys. Why not? But no, none of that is what this video is about. This video is a review of Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat's Dracula, Episode 2, the brilliantly titled Blood Vessel. So, I've watched the whole season now and I have a better idea of what it is and what they're trying to do with it. And it's not an adaptation of Dracula or the book of Dracula. It's rather a distillation, I would say, of the cultural icon that was Dracula between the late 60s and the early 80s. So mainly the 70s. Because back in the 70s, Dracula was this like super cool cultural phenomenon that straddled all types of media. It was in movies, on TV, comic books, and packets of chips. You know, it was everywhere. Boxes of cereal. Dracula was everywhere because Dracula was uber cool. Dracula was, I would say, the Avengers of it was Dracula in 1975 was what the Avengers were in 2013. So that distillation of everything that was Dracula and is Dracula was fed into the minds of the young minds of Moffat and Gatiss, and it looks to me more like Gatiss, and they clearly adored it. I am pretty much the same as me. What was the name of that Dracula snack? It wasn't Monster Munch, but it was something like it was like these circles that had these little red veins going through them. This was like 1975. I had them. So yeah, that's what this series is. So the next question we really need to talk about is it woke? And a lot of people are saying it is woke, and they're saying it for pretty darn good reason. I'm going to say I don't think it is, and at least I don't think it is at its core. I think it has woke elements to it. It has a lot of like 2019, 2020 isms going on it, but I don't think its core I don't think it's woke in its core DNA. But I do understand why many people do. So, firstly, Dracula is a force of seduction. Again, that's part of the DNA of the character. So to represent that level of seductive sexual degeneracy, which is, again, that's the part of the allure of Dracula. It's like giving, we have moral boundaries. We all have moral boundaries that control all of us. And it is very alluring to break those boundaries. And that's what Dracula is. So to represent that sort of seductive degree of degeneracy, which is, well, again, part the allure of the characters. But if you have to do something very different today than you would do in the 60s or 70s. Then if you seduced another person's fiancé to sleep with them in their virginal state. Is virginal? Yeah. Virginal. They're virginal. To sleep with them in their virginal state. That sounds better. Before the sanctuary of holy matrimony. Was the height of callous sexual usury, leaving the lady heartbroken and unmarriageable, and the former fiance, the potential spouse, heartbroken and bereft. All of which was be as arousing for Dracula as the actual sex itself. So that's not the world we live in today, not in any way, shape, or form. So instead we have we in the first episode. We gender swapped Jonathan. Didn't gender swap Jonathan Harker. John Harker remained Jonathan Harker. Well, we gender swapped his role. It was in the book. Dracula was pursuing Mina Harker to be his bride. But but in that episode, it was Jonathan Harker, who was the poor virgin, who was enticed to his wicked ways and pleasures of the flesh of Dracula. So again, it's weird. I said this in my review of the first episode. It does kind of say that like homosexuality is devilry. And I think it's saying that because it's pulling from that 1960s, 1970s cultural awareness, cultural understanding. So it is not the understanding we have today. So so we're talking about how we changed the roles of Jonathan Harker. And my basic rule always with gender and race swaps is as long as it represents the essence of the character, the DNA of the character to a modern audience. So I use this example all the time. Laurence Fishburne playing Perry White in Superman was just perfect casting. And say what you will about Zack Snyder, and there's plenty to say. His casting is always really spot on. I think so. Laurence Fishburne really nailed what that Perry White character is like, in a way that the modern audience watching it would relate to it in the same way as you had whoever was playing it in like the 1950s TV show, the one who said "Great Caesar's Ghost," that one. It's so yeah, I'm okay with that, and like Katie Sackhoff in Battlestar Galactica. She very much represented the bones, the core of what Starbuck was in the original, and they just embroidered it. It's not embroidered. Just use that as a starting point, but the core started at the right point. And for the same reason, that's why I don't think James Bond could ever successfully be a person of color. And I hate using that term. I just hate that term, person of color. I really have no idea if that. I would if my skin was dark, I would find that really. I would find that more offensive than calling me black. I would find it like just call me what I am. There's only a problem saying just descriptively saying someone's skin color if you feel it's derogatory in some ways. I don't think anybody thinks that. I think some people do, but very small amount. So I don't think he could ever be a person of color. I don't think, or a woman, because both of those are counter to the core of the character of James Bond. James Bond is somebody from like a very old English family who were all white. So that's just what you're stuck with, and his sexuality is key to him. So yeah, he could never be a woman. I just don't think he could be. Look, I was about to say prove me wrong, but please don't. Because you're not going to. Actually, funny enough, about a month or so ago on British Breakfast TV, you have Piers Morgan and Susanna. I can't remember. I don't live in England. I just watch it on YouTube because I kind of find them funny. But they're talking about why James Bond. The woman Susanna Reed, I think her name, said, well, why can't James Bond be a woman? To which I replied, screaming at the TV, this actually really, I was screaming at my computer, this actually really happened. For the same reason Hugh Grant shouldn't play Black Panther, or Samuel Jackson would be miscast as the Queen of England. Although that would make, season 4 of The Queen pretty interesting. maybe just a little bit historically inaccurate. The next gender swap that the series has done, and I think we need to talk about, is the character of Van Helsing, making her the nun, Sister Agatha. And I still really think that calling her Sister Agatha is some kind of reference to Jenny Agutter, who played the female lead in American Werewolf in London, which is just so from that era of Dracula that I think this is pulling from. And again, for me, this one worked. I can see it being something that one of those gloriously lurid Hammer horror Draculas with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing would have done in the 60s and 70s. They did something similar with, Mr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde with Ralph Bates. So I could tell. I mean, I guess if it was done in a Hammer movie, would you see some booby? Probably some side booby. That would be implicit in it. That's where it comes from. And that's where this series comes from. It's not so much a reimagining of those movies. I think it's more Gatiss and Moffat asking themselves, what would they do if they were in those Hammer horror production offices? And and we get the answer to that in the second episode. We got it in the first episode as well. We get the answer in all the episodes, but in the second episode we get that the answer in the brilliantly titled Blood Vessel, which I could just so see as one of these movies. And it tells the hitherto never told tale of Dracula's crossing on the Demeter to England, which is, I think, is really clever. It's a really, because it's always been, and it's one of those blank areas where you need to fill things in, but you never knew they existed, but you knew they were there. Like, so, yeah, I just think that was really clever, and the way they approached it, it will be just like a movie from the 70s. They have a cast lineup of like just like an Agatha Christie mystery, where you have all these different characters, and they're pretty much all going to be soon fighting for their lives as they set sail on the Demeter with Dracula. Excuse me while I burp. I try and burp subtly, and fail. Okay, just an aside. If you're going to burp subtly and you want to try and get away with it, don't mention it. Don't bring it up. So, okay, I imagine I can really see the movie poster for it. Blood Vessel, Dracula, Blood Vessel. So I was a little bit disappointed in this episode because it wasn't as good as what was going on in my head. My head version of it. I found the direction in this one a little bit flatter than the previous episode, but it's a really fascinating and fun concept. In this version of Dracula, he takes on the knowledge and life experience of his victims, and in a revelation later on, this is a minor spoiler, we find out that Dracula has orchestrated the entire guest list of the boat that he's on, just so he can acquire all the knowledge and understanding, so he can fit seamlessly into modern 19th century British society. A great cast, some Moffat Gatiss regulars from Sherlock. You have Jon Harris, I think his name. He was the forensic examiner from Sherlock, who later went on to become a Sherlock super fan. And there's Clive Russell. I know I've seen him in more things, but he's probably best known as the Blackfish of Game of Thrones. Sacha Dhawan, who's busy hamming it up as a master right now, and I think stealing the scenes in the show on Doctor Who. And honestly, he's one of those actors I just like to watch now. If he's in anything, I will turn on to it because he just gives one of those interesting performances. And most notably, they had Catherine Schell. Now, Catherine Schell is a former scream queen. I will call her a former scream queen from the 70s who's been in James Bond movies, sci-fi, and horror. You'll probably know her best as Maya from season 2 of Space 1999. Space 99 was this really gritty, Jerry Anderson live-action show with Barbara Brain and Martin Landau. And then the second year, they just changed everything and made it much more silly. They brought in this shape-changing alien played by Catherine Schell. The beautiful Maya, who I think her father in the episode was Brian Blessed. Wow, I haven't seen that for a while. Okay, and so that's the exact era that this version of Dracula is pulling from, and I think pulling from pretty successfully. Given these are essentially three connected but independent movies, I think it probably would have been better if they spaced them out over the year. Did one on New Year's Day and did another one, I don't know, on Easter or something, and just have them space and have another one on Halloween. I think they would make them more special. Probably would have got better ratings. But given that how low the ratings they got, I don't. Although TV in general is getting very low ratings. You get some things which get massive things, which are like Gavin and Stacey. They got like 17 million people watching. I never seen Gavin and Stacey, but they seem like kind of a fun, happy people that they just come back after years being away. So I can see why they do well. But in general, everything's getting low ratings because I just think it's this inclusion policy, this inclusionism policy of the BBC and probably ITV as well. This is this enforced wokeness that people are just sick to death of. They would rather switch off and do something else. They'll rather go to YouTube. That's really the bottom line. They'll rather go somewhere else. And with all this like forced inclusion, it's they're just pushing people to different platforms, much like this. Fine. So, intercut with the drama on the ship, we have these interesting cutaways where Dracula is sparring with Sister Agatha, which is why I think the Sister Agatha character really works. She's a great counterbalance for what's his name, Klaus Bang. What a great name! Yeah, if your name's Klaus Bang, you can either play Dracula or do gay porn. One and two. In this one, there's kind of a crossover, I think. But I think they started with him, and then they cast her, and they just spar very well with each other. I like how the characters interact. Now, I said before, I don't think it's well. I do think though they taking advantage. The Gatiss and Moffat are taking advantage of all these woke elements that they organically are putting. I think organically are putting into this series because it just makes it easier for them to get it made and makes them look like team players, and they're doing it. Or maybe they believe this bullcrap. Although I just can't believe they do. I don't think anybody of any sense thinks that women are a oppressed underclass in our society. I think most people see people as people, regardless of their gender or skin color or sexual orientation. The people are just people, because that's how most people view people, as being people. Yeah, it's probably the better way to do it. So it all ends, and I think unwisely, with a pretty good cliffhanger. What I think would have been a better way to wrap it up, it would be as a complete story, and don't go onto the clip, which I'm going to talk about in the next review. I'm not going to spoil it here, and then start episode 3 at the beginning, and then you could get its way out of the denouement. I'm going to explain what I mean more in the next review. It's probably coming out tomorrow, and I think that would have helped episode 3 a lot, because episode 3 flounders a bit. So, I think all in all, I enjoyed this episode. I've enjoyed these first 2 episodes of this series. I would probably buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out, but that's just because I'm such a sad Hammer horror-y fan. I just love all that stuff. But, I found it inventive and reflective of the DNA of what it's trying to talk about. Although, I'd love to hear a real Hammer horror movie expert like Kim Newman or somebody like that talk about this. Somebody with like an educated view. I'd love to hear what their take is on it, and I would love to hear your take on it too. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Use the hashtag Dalek War so you can be entered to win this fabulous 2-story 4 DVD set. Like, share, subscribe, hashtag Dalek War. Let me know what you think. My name is Sheila Beck, and the Rabbi from Another Planet. And thank you for listening. Have a great day.